lifter?
A cloud lifter. You can't
For your
bust out
XLR
all
mic?
these tech terms for me. I don't know what any of this stuff means.
Just to boost, just to give you a little extra
Am I
boost.
the youngest person here and I have the least tech knowledge and I have all the tech problems? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. But or you could download some extra gain if you want.
I think you're by far the youngest person here, right?
By far.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm
And you can give the.
Oh, I thought you were like
Liz,
24 or 25.
We're similar. We're similar.
Thank
Never
you.
mind.
Well, look, IRI looks
similar.
like he's 24, so like, you know, if he can just like DM me his skincare routine, we'll all be good, all right?
Yeah, all right. What is your skin care routine?
Well,
Cleanser, a little bit of moisturizer.
I think it's mostly genetics, but I do put on a moisturizer with like SPF 30, like a minute after I get out of the shower.
That's
so every day
huge.
I'm wearing sunscreen. Yeah.
Do you think it's
Sunscreen is
problematic
huge.
that you as a white person are bragging about good genetics?
Whoa.
Wow. No, not at all. I'm
I don't know.
proud.
I don't know.
Sydney
I don't
Sweeney
know.
say? My good genes. I have
Yeah,
good genes.
that's what I'm talking about. Exactly. Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Live and Learn. Josiah is once again absent because he hates every single one of his audience members. He said all 600,000 of them, I hate them specifically, and they should all unsubscribe. I think he told me that personally in a DM. No,
He told me that too.
Yeah, he told all of us. Well, I'm a subscriber, so he DM'd it to all of us, actually.
You should see him in the private chats. He's always like, fuck the fans. I hate the fans. It's crazy because, you know, that's like counterintuitive for a creator. But hey,
Then he took a really crass selfie. I didn't think it was appropriate given our work relationship.
Yeah, I missed that one. Wait, what?
He went on some
that
rant
was a
about
private.
Hutch's dad. That was weird.
Oh,
You leave
shit.
my father out of dude.
How
my
is your dad doing, Hutch?
very much retired. He spends about 10 hours a day looking at his phone, reading Facebook, just gobbling up right-wing media, and is completely radicalized. But I love
Does he
him,
ever
and
come
I
up
love
to you
spending
and
time with him.
like? Does he ever like? Are you winning, son? How's this whole like fight with the lefties doing? Like, does he ever like inquire as to your content?
I put a hard ban on political conversations with my dad, and like he'll try to sneak it in every once in a while, and I'll be like, "Dad, we're not doing this, remember?" And he'll be like, "I'm not talking." Yeah. He tries to like sneak it in, all clever like, and yeah. Are your parents political? What's everybody else's parents' politics here?
My dad passed away a few years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. No, but we talk politics, and my family is like very inclined towards Latin American politics, and so I'll often ask about like what's going on in Peru, what's going on in Argentina with Malay, but they're also engaged in the Trump stuff. So yeah, we have a lot of political conversations, but we don't have any kind of like dark horse, person who believes in MAGA in my immediate family.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Soy Pill, what about you?
Yeah, my parents are both very liberal. I was raised like Bay Area liberal progressive, but my dad is like TDS, like he has Donald Trump syndrome, like Trump derangement syndrome. Like he will bring it up at the most like inopportune times when no one is talking about politics. So I love him, but it's one of those
like real TDS or
yeah,
like
real TDS,
fake
not
TDS?
not like hey, like he's the president, we have to do something about this. It's like we'll be watching. I think we were watching like the Bourne Identity, and they were on a train, and he was like, "We'd have trains like this if Trump wasn't president." I'm like, Dad,
wow,
what does that have to do with what's happening?
Wowie.
Right now?
Yeah, my dad sounds like the opposite of your dad, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would say the same thing. He would be like, we'd have trains like this if it wasn't for the goddamn liberals or whatever. I don't know, it was just something like that. What about you, IRI? I think you said your parents are both liberal, right?
Yeah, they're hardcore libs. They're like Los Angeles Times editorial board reading libs, so they hate Trump for sure.
Typical.
What do you think kind of pushed you guys into liberal politics? Like I was trying to think about it for me, and I think it honestly, like scripture might have had a lot to do with it, because like I was raised in the Catholic Church. Yeah, I mean we focused a lot on like the New Testament, like Jesus Christ being somebody who emphasizes like grace and compassion and forgiveness and generosity and stuff. Even though I'm not religious anymore, like I'm sure that had pretty big impact on me. What about you guys?
My Islamic values. Sorry, I'm going around. It was Jon Stewart for me and George Carlin. I don't know why, but like my brother had some George Carlin, like either books or something of George Carlin lying around that I read. And then I watched a lot of Jon Stewart, so that's me.
Okay.
I never wavered from being a Dem, but when I was growing up in my 20s, it was George Bush, George W, and he sucked. So it was pretty easy to be on the opposite side of him. And then Obama came along, and he was awesome. So it just always made sense to me, and the policies were great. So I never wavered. Though I grew up in Orange County, which is conservative, so I had plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, pretty much same story for me. I mean, I grew up progressive values and progressive area, and just I'd listen and hear out Republicans and I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense, and that's not borne out by any of the data I'm looking at. So it just never really clicked with me.
Did you say you're in the Bay Area? Is that right? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, big old lib area.
It's a very, very big lib area. And unfortunately, speaking of California, I don't know if this should be our first topic. You guys tell me. The ruling from the Supreme Court on immigration patterns in LA. I mean, that came down today, and it's wild, an absolute insane ruling.
Yeah, why don't
basically
you break
allowing?
Yeah, why don't you break that down for us? And did they break any kind of precedent that had been established with this, or
maybe the precedent against racial discrimination? Yes, I mean, I would argue so. Yeah, I think it's in complete contradiction to what the court's precedent are with respect to racial discrimination. I think someone did it. I forgot who tweeted this, but basically the Supreme Court, they said, characterize it this way, which I don't totally disagree with. The Supreme Court says that you can't consider race when it comes to college admissions, but you can consider race when it comes to detaining people for violations of the law. And I think that's pretty spot on. I mean, the Supreme Court majority didn't give us a reason. I mean, it's one of the problems, I think, with dealing with all these cases on the emergency docket and not following their precedent in terms of the stay factors and just going right to the merits all the time. But we have Kavanaugh's concurrence, which essentially states that, yes, you can consider race so long as race is not in isolation. You can use race to determine whether you have reasonable suspicion to stop someone on immigration violations. Not because of confirming a prior identity. Like, let's say you have an ID of a suspect and you're using that to help identify. It's because of Hispanics' propensity to do underlying immigration law violations. You can use that stereotype not as the total reason why you're stopping someone, but as part of the collection of factors to stop someone. And he kind of limits it, I think, dishonestly to immigration violations. But there's no reason why the reasonable suspicion, which is a constitutional standard from the Fourth Amendment, would apply differently in the criminal context versus the immigration violation context. And so it really is opening the door, in my opinion, to allow for, consideration of race as a propensity factor in all sorts of investigative stops. So it's a humongous, I think, problem for law enforcement in terms of how they're going to interpret that. And obviously, I think bad precedent, and stands in contrast to their whole notion that they're going to be against racial factors in college education and higher learning. So it's completely bullshit. And yeah, I think it's a horrible, horrible mistake.
Is it a similar kind of rationale that like FDR used to intern Japanese people? Like there's a reasonable suspicion that they'd be more likely to be traitorous, I guess.
Well, in the sense that it's a propensity argument, right? Like that we would expect people of such and such heritage to be more likely to be traitors to the country, to be more likely to be spies. If you're using, it's literally racial profiling, right? You're making a profile based on a set of characteristics, which include race. So the fact that you speak Spanish, the fact that you have a particular job, the fact that you're at a particular location, and the fact that you're a race, like that is all part of a racial profile to give grounds for reasonable suspicion. That's what Kavanaugh's argued. Now, to be completely up front, he's a concurrence. So it's not necessarily the holding of the court, but that's part of the problem. If you don't have like full merits hearings on these issues and you're just resolving it on the shadow docket, you're essentially giving room. And I bet you the Supreme Court would uphold this if Trump literally wrote a memo that said, we are commanding our DHS officials to stop anyone who looks Hispanic and who is at a place of labor, like construction zone. On that basis alone, I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court would uphold it. It's a disaster, and it makes no sense, right? It makes no sense why you should be able to consider race for purposes of reasonable suspicion inquiries, which are supposed to be particularized, right? All of these unreasonable searches and seizure exceptions are supposed to be particularized, right? You see someone in the act of doing a crime, you get like a notice that this particular person at this particular location is doing something. But this is just allowing for all sorts of stereotypes that would justify stops of millions of people. You have to think, like in LA, the Hispanic population is close to half. 50%, 47 to 50% of the population in LA area is Hispanic. And so this rationale would really extend to, like, I guess, any Hispanic-looking person who's speaking Spanish on a job site.
But wait, Pisco, can it go even further? I mean, look what happened in Georgia at the Hyundai plant. Those were South Koreans. So, like, literally anybody can be stopped. Looks like me, Hutch, anybody can be stopped. There's people from Ukraine that may not be allowed to be here soon because he's canceling their TPS or whatever. So, I mean, they could stop literally anybody. Did Kavanaugh go into how many other factors there have to be or anything like that?
No. It's all vague. It's all, and he's not really
crazy.
meeting the moment, right? In terms of just like owning it, right? Like one thing would be to own it. Yes, race is enough plus one other factor. Yes, it's enough that, he's being weaselly about it, in my opinion. And he's saying something like this. Oh, for example, in the standing analysis where he's doing the standing analysis, he says, oh, we're just talking about future injunctions, that you can't get standing for future injunctions, but you can still get standing for damages suits. So like if you were subject to an illegal stop as a result of this policy, by the way, the Trump administration was not even fighting on the merits that they were stopping people illegally. Like it wasn't even contested, and they weren't even contesting the findings of fact that they were stopping people in an illegal fashion. But what Kavanaugh says is, don't worry about that, right? You can still do damages lawsuits and you'll have standing. But like, where is the avenue for private rights of actions for damages against the government? They're already making like all these different carve-outs. Like courts can't interfere and create judicial remedies. Courts don't have standing to do universal injunctions, qualified immunity, absolute immunity. So they're making it incredibly difficult and at some point impossible for us to actually resolve and adjudicate violations of the law. Like we can't even get a future injunction to prevent illegal action that is recurring as a part of a policy to do race-based stops. That's crazy. This court is completely out to sea. They're abdicating and throwing us all to the wolves. And if you see Amy Coney Barrett on the fucking news shows, like pretending that this is principled or that the Constitution requires this, it is so beyond the pale. We're in deep shit, guys.
Can I ask a really dumb, uninformed question, Pisco? And that's like my understanding of this, especially like it was illegal to stop black people just because they're black. It still is. And yet it seemed to be the kind of collective understanding that they would just find a reason, even if it was because you're black. They'll say, oh, your headlight was out. Oh, you didn't stop for the full 3 seconds at that stop sign. So does this actually set a precedent of them being able to stop people in ways they weren't before? Obviously, it's worse that they're making it, in the legal text. But is this going to change how they operate in a substantial way?
I think it will. So on the one hand, I think that you're correct that pretextual stops, even if quote unquote the real reason was something else, as long as you had a pretext, you could probably stop them. And unless you had really overwhelming proof of racial discrimination, you couldn't really get any remedy and you couldn't undo the nature of the stop. What this is essentially saying, I'm not saying that it's explicitly stating it, because again, this was a shadow docket, not really elaboration by the majority. But what this is essentially saying is you don't even need a pretext. You can just say, well, it's because he's Hispanic at a job site and we're in LA, so we're stopping you. And then even in Kavanaugh's concurrence, he's like, well, don't worry. It's just a brief detention. And once you explain to the officers that you're a U.S. citizen or here legally, right, presupposing that you're going to talk to law enforcement, right? Like what kind of lawyer worth their salt would advise you to be like talking to law enforcement and opening yourself up to potential liability and saying all kinds of incriminating stuff potentially? Even, by the way, if it's not incriminating, you can get into trouble by speaking too much or saying things you shouldn't say. So this is a disastrous ruling. Kavanaugh is a clown, and he includes in it this kind of like virtue signal where he's like, now, different administrations have different views on immigrations, and we're just, my hands are completely tied, and some administrations might say this is immigration the right policy. Some might say we need more restrictive immigration, and he's trying to present it as though he doesn't have a political stake in it. But even the wordage that he uses throughout the opinion indicates what side of the political debate he's on. So yes, I do think will provide a different additional standard, because it's precedent that race can be used as a factor, not for identification purposes, but for propensity evidence to stand for like basically the reasonable suspicion standard, that you can use the propensity of a particular ethnic background to do a violation of a law as part of your totality of circumstances analysis on whether to stop someone. So imagine this would, I'm going to do one last example, then I'll let you guys talk. Imagine that there was an alley which was very renowned for being a criminal alley where a bunch of drug deals happened. Before, there was case law is just because someone is there doesn't mean you can stop them when they're in a place that crime tends to happen. But now, like, why couldn't you consider race as part of your totality of circumstances analysis? If you say, listen, we're in this particular town, this town has a problem with black people selling drugs in this alley. If you were to do the analysis the very same way in the illegal immigration context and say, listen, Latin American people, Latinx people, whatever you want to say, right? They have a propensity to do this kind of violation of law. And so we're going to allow you to take it into consideration. It's the same thing all the way down. So I do think it's new substantive authority, and it's breaking ground to allow for race-based stops.
Why do you guys think it's so hard to motivate voters, by talking about the Supreme Court? Like, obviously, the Supreme Court was really salient in 2022, but I don't know if Democratic voters showed up in large numbers, and we had kind of a historically good midterm by historical standards or whatever. But I don't know how many of them were voting because they felt like they were moving towards some mechanism, and it was more just like an expression of anger. And I anticipate, like, we're probably not going to be talking a lot about the Supreme Court in 2026 for the midterms. I really doubt it's going to be something that is discussed at great length when the Democratic primary debates are going on. Like, this is a really big deal. Obviously the Supreme Court is enormously consequential, and yet it's hard to get people to give a shit about the Supreme Court. I feel like, how do people rank the Supreme Court in terms of the importance of the issues in 2024 is probably like near the bottom.
People just can't, like, most Americans don't understand basic, like, civics, even though they took the, AP Gov class or whatever class they had to take mandatorily. Like, as soon as it becomes like 1 degree of separation beyond, hey, this president or this congressman made this law, it's like, oh, well, there's also this court and they interpret the law or make some ruling. Like, so many people get lost. It just reminds me, I was trying to explain the false elector plot for January 6th, and like trying to explain what an elector is. You've already lost them at that point. Like, they see people stormed the Capitol, did that, overturned the election, and anything past that, it's too nuanced for most people. So you say, hey, this president's going to pick new Supreme Court justices that's going to affect us for the next generation or two. Most people, it's just not salient with them. It's very unfortunate, but this is exactly what happened in 2016 with that famous clip of Jimmy Dore arguing with Sam Cedar, and Sam Cedar's like, hey, Trump's going to pick 3 Supreme Court justices if he wins, and Jimmy Dore says, oh, what? So the moon's going to fall into Lake Michigan? Hey, this is insane what's happening now, and he still doesn't walk that back.
Or another pushback that I hear is like, oh, we hear this every time. It's like, well, it fucking matters every election. So that's why people say it every time.
Yeah.
And this court is absolutely cucking out in a way. Sorry, I'll let you go.
No, I was going to say, I agree. I think it's civics, basic civics, and it's too detached from people's everyday lives. Unless it's something that happens right before an election like 2022. I think people are able to connect the dots there.
Could you guys imagine of a Supreme Court decision that would be so consequential that it would actually motivate like a really big push to expand the court, for example, initiate various reforms?
I would have thought Roe v. Wade would have been that, and kind of you saw that in the midterms, how it wasn't as big of a red wave as everyone thought it was going to be, and like maybe Obergefell getting like overturned might do that, but like if it's not that, then what is it? Like the immunity thing wasn't it? Roe v. Wade really wasn't it? Like,
well, the problem with Roe v. Wade is you can still get mifepristone and whatever the other one is in the mail. So like in Texas, abortions went down from what I read, like 10% or something, which is significant, but it's not like it completely outlawed abortions. Now, Republicans are going after that now, so maybe that'll change things, but it's got to be something more drastic, as sad as that is, for people to get that pissed off and demand that we change the number of justices.
Yeah, but like what? Like what could it possibly be? You know?
Would it be loving v. Virginia, miscegenation laws coming back? I don't know. Like, I'm
not even sure. To one extent, like, I don't know if this is a great example right now, given the context of everything that's going on in Israel and Gaza, but like in some respect, I am jealous of some aspect of their population standing up and resisting the kind of judicial reforms that were being pushed by Netanyahu. I wish we had at least some measure of like care. I don't know. I feel like the court is every week pushing on the American people crazy crazy standards of law that would never be applied to Democratic presidents. Can you imagine a Supreme Court, like let's say that Biden just dismantled ICE by firing everybody, ignoring all the civil service protection laws, just dismantling and degrading that agency. Can you imagine this Supreme Court not issuing a stop to that? It's utterly deranged, and it's totally politicized. Roberts has lost control of the court, and now we're in a horrible situation because the authoritarianism is here, and the court is not stepping in to stop corruption, not stepping in to stop the executive just choosing not to spend the money that Congress has appropriated, one of the core powers of Congress. So we're in a really, really terrible spot so far as the judiciary is concerned. And I wish that there was more civic engagement from the populace on what's happened in the Supreme Court, but it just seems to go past people's heads. Like, how do I explain the universal injunction case to the average person? How do I like? It's just a non-starter, as Soypill said.
Yeah, they had 200,000 people demonstrating in Tel Aviv. That's a shit. I don't know if I've ever been somewhere where there's been 200,000 people, maybe like EDC 2015. But yeah, they had 200,000 people that were marching in the streets because of Netanyahu's plan to, corruptly reform the court. And it just doesn't seem like we can get any kind of traction going here in the United States for a similar kind of movement. And I also think, unfortunately, it's the case for a lot of people. I think a lot of normies don't really connect the Supreme Court decisions with the Republican Party. Like, I think a lot of them maybe don't really fully appreciate how this current court is a product of Republican politics and what happens when we give them power.
Well, as bad as the Supreme Court is right now, Trump has the opportunity to replace 2 more justices before he leaves, with Alito and Thomas. And imagine who he puts in there, like Emile Beauvais or whatever his name is. Like, these people are ghouls. So maybe that'll trigger enough outrage in the public. But you have to find a way to piss off both sides if you're going to get to a point where we change the number of justices, or what I think would be even better, but it would take a constitutional amendment, would be term limits, right? 18 years would probably be a great place to start. And that would bring down the temperature a lot. But I'm willing to bet Trump breaks it with replacing those 2 aging justices, and then we can get some reform.
I feel like I feel like term limits, and then set it up so that each president can basically nominate one Supreme Court justice or something. And then I don't even know though, with the way that things are so polarized now, there's just no, it used to be the expectation that even if there was the opposing party controlling the Senate, they would, usually give deference to the president for his nominees. They rejected one Bork or whatever in the last 50 years. Who else did they reject besides him? But now, I don't know, all bets are off, it seems. So I don't know, man. The hyperpolarization right now is just making everything so dysfunctional. And, our system was designed with bipartisan cooperation in mind. I don't know if the founders necessarily envisioned this type of government. And it's just, I don't know how sustainable this is in the long run with how divided
it's totally unsustainable for the judiciary to be essentially removing all legislative and judicial checks on the president's violation of law. We are reaching a point of no comeback. And so if I were in charge, my policy agenda would probably be very different than the Democrats' policy agenda. The Democrats, by the way, and at some point we should touch on this because of the budget shit. It feels like they don't have a coherent message, even at this point, even months later. But certainly my pet projects in terms of,
you said the
Democrats.
Republicans?
I meant to say Democrats. Yeah. In terms of what I would put on the top of the agenda would be democracy enriching things, like giving Puerto Rico the vote, judicial reform, Article 3 reform, that kind of stuff, fixing the Electoral College. So what I care about, and getting rid of the immunity decision, isn't necessarily what the Democrats care about, and isn't necessarily what the people care about. And so it's a fuck situation when we don't have coherence, and part of that I think has to fall on the Democrats for not organizing themselves and having a coherent policy platform, even at this late stage. It feels like a late stage, months after Trump's inauguration.
Well, typically, I feel like we would find out more about, obviously the policy platform's very much up in the air. It's not really clear what direction the party is going in.
What do Democrats stand for?
Well, I feel like
do you trust the people in charge?
I feel like we generally know what Democrats stand for, which is
congressional leadership, like Schumer and Jeff.
Well, I'm just saying in a very broad sense, but when we're going into the midterms, typically you're not going out there and running on a policy platform. You're not going to have power for the next 2 years after the midterms, and so I don't know if that's necessary, if we need to iron out a policy platform just yet, but I feel like they're probably going to run on similar what they ran on in 2018. They're going to call attention to the Medicaid cuts. They're going to run on like blocking Trump's ability to cut even more people from healthcare, and they're going to run on the economy, I assume.
Well, I see what Pisco is saying. It's like, well, what is our demands going into this budget fight at the end of the month? And it's just days away. There's like 3 days a week that these guys meet and talk. So we're like 12 working days away from a shutdown. And we don't know what the Democrats are asking for. Now, my understanding is the appropriators are meeting and talking, and they're asking for commitments for Trump to spend the money, and they're looking at a short-term CR, maybe going through November or something like that. That's all I've read, but I think we'll find out in the next 2 weeks what the Democrats' demands are, and I think they're spoiling for a fight. So I think it's full, all hands on deck, shutdown time coming.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good transition into our next topic, which is this Ezra Klein video where he's saying Dems need to fight back. They need to cause this shutdown, draw attention to the idea that the Republicans are doing abhorrent things and actually fight back. But before we get into exactly what he said, I'm curious if you guys had this kind of vibe versus like facts kind of conflict in your head where everyone's like, the Democrats are feckless, the Democrats are doing nothing. And I'm not sure exactly what the Democrats need to do. I think the first thing that has really resonated with people has been this Gavin Newsom redistricting to combat the Texas redistricting. It's like, oh, we're finally fighting dirty. But if you look at even all of the like awful things Trump's doing, like there are legal battles that are being fought. There are like people challenging in court everything that he's doing. Like, what do you think the Democrat populace wants to happen, like that are not seeing to be fighting Trump?
Well, I think it's clear that, like, I don't know what percentage of the party, but there's a certain percentage of the party that literally want them to like put their bodies on the line. You know what I mean? I feel like, wasn't Jeffries told as much in some kind of private meeting or something like that? Like somebody was like, you need to be ready to like literally bleed to stop Trump from doing what he's doing. I don't know. What do you guys, IRI, what do you think? Or either one of you guys, go on.
Go ahead, Pisco, if you have a thought.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, I totally agree with that sentiment. I think if you're not ready to put it all on the line, I don't mean do anything illegal. I don't mean to do anything violent, but I just mean metaphorically. If you're not spending every waking day and hour tuning up your rhetoric, trying to be fierce, trying to fight back against the administration, then what good are you for? And I don't have the confidence. It feels like Chancellor Valorum, and I know the different comparisons to Phantom Menace and like what comes after, but I really have no confidence in either Schumer or Jeffries just having the je ne sais quoi to do this fight. Do I prefer Jeffries? Yeah. Do I expect Jeffries to be Speaker of the House in a year if I had to bet? Yeah, I probably do, but like I don't trust him at this critical juncture. And I don't understand, like, for this budget fight, this is the one place where legislative Democrats have leverage. Can anyone explain to me what has changed between now and March, where they had the previous fight, that would justify the Democrats standing up at this present moment? Like, well, the moment to stand up was in March.
What wasn't Schumer's whole logic was that they're going to have more leverage for this fight, and so it really just depends on what they do. Like, I don't know. I've read some various takes. Or you go ahead, Ira. You were teeing up something earlier.
I think it goes a step. There was a step before the redistricting, and that was the Epstein files. I think Democrats have led very well on demanding the Epstein files be released. You've got Ro Khanna out there with Thomas Massie, and he even corralled Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace to join him. And they've got the votes to go around Mike Johnson. So I think Democrats have been on point on the Epstein files. I think Democrats did an even better job on the Texas redistricting fight, now that California is going to gerrymander the shit out of our state and New York as well. And we're taking away those paths to victory for controlling the House from Republicans for the next couple of election cycles, because that went through swing districts in New York and California. That being said, I'm with you guys. I think like we don't really need a message. I hear a lot of people ask me on TikTok, who's your leader? What's your message? Why's your approval rating so low? Who cares? This is a referendum. The midterms are a referendum on the party in the White House, and we just need to be the opposition party right now. We don't really need to have any great message. That might be controversial to say, but
I think that's pretty counter IRI to like what everyone's saying, which is, if you just say I'm the anti-Trump party, like that's not enough. Like that's not enough for people. They want you to pick something and stand for it, and also be anti-Trump. Not that they're mutually exclusive.
we stand for making life more affordable, and Trump is screwing it up. Look at his jobs report, look at GDP, look at his tariffs. And so we would say we wouldn't do all that crap. We will make your life more affordable. So I think that's enough for now.
Yeah, but definitely a unity between those two things, not simply the opposite of Trump or Trump bad, but hey, Trump is bad and here's how we're going to fix it with a more strong, like, this is how we fix the economy. This is how we get everyone more jobs. I think like just without that, it sounds like indistinguishable, but if you don't have that, like, well, this is our solid platform, then everyone just sees you as this, like, oh, we're the resist libs. And that's not enough for, I think, a lot of people.
But is there if you want to argue that we should break precedent, I'm open to that argument, but like, is there a precedent for the political parties, defining them with specific policy platforms in the midterms, like when they're out of power? Like, I've never heard of that happening before. I mean, maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it's something worth exploring. Yeah, go ahead.
I was trying to reference, because I knew we were going to talk about the Ezra Klein article when I talk about policy platform. I more meant a set of what IRI said, like a set of positions on the specific budget negotiation. That's kind of what I mean. And in general, when I say a policy platform for the Democrats, I mean, like, what do you stand for at a macro sense, and to help have some identity to this party? I think that there is an identity issue here, and it goes beyond like the specific policy issues. Like, one thing that I think Ezra notes again in the article that's one of our topics is the lack of funding among Democrats. So something is happening, and it's happening internally, that the base is not fitting with the leadership. Whoever the Dems are in Congress isn't, and the Dems who are successful are the state Dems, which have more fight in them, people like Pritzker and people like Newsom. So something is happening on the federal congressional level that we need to address. It feels like an identity issue. It feels like something to do with ganas and something to do with fight, and people just don't trust Schumer.
But Pisco, the difference is those guys have power. Newsom and Pritzker have power.
No, I agree that gives them
Democrats in Congress have no power. They can't do anything.
But the one instance that rallied and angered the base was when they did in March, and they didn't use it.
But if you listen to Schumer's reasoning, he's setting up for a showdown now. We'll see if it comes to fruition and if he was proven right. The problem for Schumer is he had no way to prove he was right at the time. And I think that was a disaster, because people are like, what are you doing, bro? We want to fight now. He's like, no, wait 6 months and we'll fight then. Okay, well, let's see if he was right or wrong.
It might have been pragmatic at the time. It might have been rooted in like an actual logical argument, but politically it was dumb. Like, sometimes I feel like you have to do something that is not even necessarily the correct thing because there's just so much political pressure. I don't know. I feel like broadly we know what the Democrats stand for. We're a party that's like very pro-labor. We're a party that is like very much pro-immigration. We want to reform our immigration to be much more humane than it actually is. We favor like much stronger social safety nets. We want to expand people's access to healthcare. Like,
so
I think
explain the disconnect, Touch. Explain the disconnect between the polling.
Well, I think what's happening is like the Democratic voters recognize this moment, I think correctly so, as an existential threat. They see Donald Trump as an existential threat, and he won and he's in power. And so it's a mixture of anger and fear. And so
the Dems aren't taking it seriously is what I think. The Dem voter understands that the Dems in charge don't seem to be taking it seriously, that maybe they didn't feel that Trump was an existential threat and they're just doing business as usual. That's what it feels like.
No, yeah,
it feels like that way to me.
Yeah, no, Pisco, you're right. That is the general vibe, because you hear Trump is stampeding through the courts. He's pushing his legislation. He's able to get done whatever he wants. Now, whatever pushback legislatively that's kind of halting some of that stuff, not as going as fast as it otherwise would, people see this as, okay, well, what the fuck are Dems doing to, like, if he's going to break all the rules and become this existential threat, why are you still trying to like maintain decorum? And that's why this Newsom thing has resonated with people so much, because it's like, okay, it looks like he's doing some unprecedented, like, oh yeah, if you go low, we'll go low. Everyone else is like, oh, we'll fight him here. We'll try to like filibuster. And it's like, okay, cool. You can do a 25-hour filibuster for an appointee, but like at the end of the day, he's still going to get his appointee. Like, what are you actually doing? I mean, it's about the fact that they don't feel like you're actually doing something. Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I mean, Kamala Harris was on the campaign trail in 2024 saying, if Donald Trump wins, he is going to send the military into your state to try to fuck with you guys. Like, she was very much articulating the stakes of that race, and the voters made a bad decision. That's
and where's Schumer calling attention to it? Like, where's Schumer on that's a great example, right? I see Pritzker being strong on the deployments. I see Newsom being strong on the deployments. I don't see any congressional demo from leadership.
Well, I go back to IRI's point though. Like, those people have power. They're the governors of the state, so they can flex that power.
Rhetorically,
and
they're not even speaking now because they think that crime is a losing issue. I mean, that's literally their position.
But here, my other question is, why do you need Schumer and Jeffries to speak out? I understand they're the leaders in those chambers, but they're the leaders of the senators. They're the leader of the House members. They're not necessarily the public faces of the Democratic Party, where we have people like Pritzker and Newsom filling those shoes right now.
Everything is public facing. Everything is. We're in a different moment. I feel like everyone needs to be in that constant PR mode. Yes, I understand that. Like, they have particular, they have to have their caucus. They have to keep unity on their votes, and those are all stuff that you know well. Ira, you're like our congressional go-to expert about like the internal deliberation. And I respect that the fuck out of the Pelosi when she's maneuvering to get deals done, but there's a whole other part to this job. And now I would even hasten to add, it's the most important part in my opinion. Now it's like 51%, 49%. Instead of just do the job, act like you're doing the job on TV.
I think what you're advocating for is kind of like a new type of politician, which is like someone who has a hybrid focus of the sort of like sausage making that goes into keeping control of your caucus. And then also someone who is savvy enough to navigate not only like legacy media, but like alternative media, like find a way to capture people's attention. This is kind of like, this is, maybe you're right, but this is a very kind of like novel thing in politics. Okay. Like, look at Thune. Thune is the Senate Majority Leader. We never see this guy out there like talking about shit. He's just doing shit behind the scenes, like trying to like maneuver and navigate.
That gets IRI's point that he's
whatever.
They have the power. Wait, I want to do this to you guys. I don't even want you to think about it. I just want to give you the first answer that gets to each one of your heads, and I don't want you to think about it. And all I want you to say it as soon as I ask it. Okay? Would you be happy if Schumer resigned as minority leader? Go.
Yes.
No. Here's why. Who's going to replace him?
Chris Murphy.
Anyone that's not rhetoric wise, because I really agree with Pisco on the rhetoric thing. Yes, Hutch, it is novel, but like when Chuck Schumer's going out and being like, "Oh, Donald Trump, you're a taco. That's why you're not bombing Iran." It's like, this is not resonating with voters. And I think if you want to have a base that's like ready to go out and vote, it doesn't matter how much you're doing behind the scenes. Even if it is working, people think you're not. You do need to have that's why the Gavin Newsom messaging thing is working so well, because it's like not only is he actually fighting back, but he's making a huge fucking deal about it and putting it everywhere. And if you don't like navigate this new space of like, hey, this needs to make headlines, this needs to make TikToks and Instagrams, like people don't see it.
Let me make a caveat here though, because like I don't think I'm not saying that I want Schumer to resign because I think he's ineffective in his role as the Democratic leadership in the Senate. He's demonstrated himself to be quite effective in that role. That's not the point. The reason why he should resign is because he's lost the confidence of the electorate. He's lost the confidence of the actual voters. And if he actually stepped aside, even though he was like good in that role, I think it would signal to voters that the party is actually willing to listen to the electorate. Even if I disagree with the electorate, I think that gesture would go a long way in helping the Democratic Party to reimagine itself, I guess.
Let me defend my answer, okay? I believe Schumer is cooking and he knows what he's doing. I know that some people out there will be like, bullshit, Schumer screwed up royally back in March. But I think he knows what he's doing. If he does not shut down this government, I'm done with him. I think that he is going to lead brilliantly in the next couple of weeks. And we'll find out very soon. I think because if you look at his arguments, why he refused to shut down the government last time, one of the big one was leave the courts open. I don't want to see those gone because that's the only thing that's protecting us right now. And that does appear to be the case, that the lower courts have kept us afloat so far. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I want to see him cook, okay? I think Schumer's got more in the tank, bro.
What's his argument that it's different this time?
He has more leverage. He has more leverage. Donald Trump is less popular now. There was a pink cloud right after the election. He had way better numbers. And Donald Trump, in defense of Schumer, he said by the time we get to fall, Donald Trump's going to be unpopular and we're going to have more leverage. And what happened?
Yeah, but Trump would have been more unpopular if there was a shutdown. That's why the House, to their credit, except for Jared Golden, voted in favor of, hey, let's not capitulate to no deal. I feel like we're doing Brexit, no deal Brexit. Don't capitulate and just give the Republicans what they want. Like, the House made the right calculus because who would have been blamed for a shutdown in March? Trump. So people are not thinking about the opportunity cost. This is a game of months.
Why wouldn't they be blamed now? Why wouldn't Trump be blamed now as opposed
he
to
would no, I think he would. I think he still will right now, given the right conditions. But I think he also would have been in March, right? So there's an opportunity cost.
Yeah, but
in
he's
that
weak
time.
now. We got him on the ropes on the Epstein files. He's getting his ass
He's
kicked on the terrorists.
consolidating
It's starting to add
power.
up.
This is all about getting to the election, and I think saving. Like I've said this entire time, and you might disagree with me, that this is about delay. Put as much gunk as you can on the tracks to try to get to the election.
They're doing that. Schumer is like using every.
But we missed an opportunity in March.
Well, okay. Here's the question. If the Democrats are actually able to extract meaningful concessions, now they can't ask for the moon, obviously. If they do a shutdown and they demand like the entire government be liberal, they're not going to win that PR fight. But if they get a few like tangible wins out of that, would you come back here and say like maybe Schumer was right? Maybe he was kind of vindicated.
I don't think that happens.
No. If right now they're able to get something, I have no reason to think they wouldn't be able to get it in March. I mean, what is the argument there? When he's just starting his administration, they haven't passed major legislation yet, and the government shut down, and they're having the tariff issues and all that stuff. I have no reason to think they have more leverage.
It's because he's riding the Trump momentum off the win. Like he was so incredibly popular in those first few months. Like I can understand
he
the
wasn't
concept
that
of,
popular.
Not incredibly popular.
Not for the whole. The point is the Trump base like has not been turning against him then as they would now with the Epstein stuff and with like as
the base isn't turning against him. Soy,
not
he's 91% approved.
It's not the base. It's not the base. It's the independence. It's the independence.
Sorry,
that's what matters.
Not the hardcore maggots, but like
he's underwater on all the issues right now, and that was not the case back then. Like even the economy right now, he's not doing well with the polling. So
I agree.
I don't know. We'll find out if Schumer was right or not.
That polling translates like listen. That polling is political capital. So like if he's polling really poorly on a number of issues, the various reps that serve in districts and the senators that serve in these states, they feel pressure from their own constituents. Like they get calls, they get harassed at, town halls, like that manifests in actual pressure. That's where you get that capital from. So, like, even though approval ratings don't change the congressional makeup or anything like that, it does translate to something that you can use as leverage in a negotiation.
Well, I want to say to Pisco, I'm with you. I was pissed that Schumer didn't do that fight because he looked behind him. He had like 11 people out of hundreds of Dems. It's like, what are you doing, bro? You just got to take one for the team and realize you don't have your army. So it's time to fight. But let's see. We'll see if he was right or wrong. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean,
what will we say when we come back in a couple weeks? What's the consent?
He's not going to step down.
No, he's not going to step down. I don't think he will. Because, again, it comes down to who's going to replace him. The next, like, charismatic person, I know Chris Murphy, but Chris Murphy's not that high in leadership. I think the next is, what's his name?
Who's like the Senate whip? Who's the whip in the Senate?
This mentality is exactly everything that's wrong. No, I'm not saying that you're wrong about how the Democrats are thinking, IRI. I think that you're correct in how the Democrats are thinking. But this should be a Riz game. The seniority thing is killing us, man. It wasn't that Democratic rep who's like gonna turn 90, gonna run. I forget. Sorry, who is that person who's gonna run again?
The DC delegate.
What are we doing?
Wait, would you really value Riz over effective congressional leadership? Like I value the ability. No, I don't agree with that at all. But whoever I want sitting in leadership position in either the House or the Senate, I want to know that person is going to like consistently whip their caucus in a unified front.
I mean, have a minimum competency requirement for sure, but we need something bold and new, and we need some youth, and I would value that over seniority, even if it meant less parliamentary competency. That shit can be trained. That shit can be learned. I
go back to IRI's point, which is like, you don't they don't have to serve that role. You can have other attack dogs within the Democratic Party that are out there making that case in all these various channels. Like it doesn't have to be the Senate Majority Leader. Again, I would value effective leadership over Riz for congressional leadership any day of the week, man. I want to be sure that we're going to be able to pass bills when they have power.
It's a mistake.
Okay.
The best you're going to get in the Senate is Booker. Is that worth it? Is that big of a change?
No, they hate.
That's the best you're going to get for leader.
They hate him. Don't bring him up. They fucking hate that guy. Don't do it.
What do you mean they? I mean, he's not good. I mean, Booker is not a charismatic person, and he's weak. We need someone who's strong.
The screen performance of the year.
Nobody else is in leadership. Nobody else is in leadership with charisma. You got Klobuchar, Warner, Booker. Like that's it, man.
I think it's Murphy. I think you pick a junior senator. You pick someone. You got to shake it up. That's my opinion. You might not agree. And I understand, but these are times where I think we need to get people to rise to the occasion. And there are certain personnel issues among the current array of leadership, and the Schumer issue is a personnel issue. It's one that can't be strategized away. It's a style of thinking, and it's who he is. And who he is an old guy.
Does it matter that for years he was really effective in the leadership role?
No, there's no sentimentality at this point. At this point, we're in, because think about it, right? We're in campaigning mode. We're not in caucus mode right now. We're not in trying to build a coalition for legislation. We're trying to win an election in 2026, and we're trying to hurt the Republicans as much as possible and stop as much as possible. And listen, Schumer's not doing a fantastic job of that anyway. And to the extent that he has any kind of institutional leadership, can't he just pass along fucking secrets? If he's selfless and if he cares about our country, just like be in the background, giving the advice to whoever the leader is, if it's so invaluable. But I just don't think that we need to completely change our mentality, and it can't be business as usual. Whatever is going on, and I think this is Hutch to your fundamental point that you brought up, which I agree with. If there is a disconnect between the base, these are the people you most want to support your party. These are the people who are loyal, who walk across nails to go vote for you. If they are, and if you yourself said you don't want him in leadership, I would say trust your instinct. There's something about you. Maybe you can't even precisely define the scope of it.
No, I did though. I told you exactly why. It's not because I think he's ineffective.
If Chuck Schumer accomplishes what he set out to do with this shutdown, if he even does it, and we come back in 2 weeks, and the more charismatic Dems that are not in leadership are able to disseminate that message and actually make the voter base feel like they're being listened to and something's happening, then this is going to become the Chuck Schumer Stand podcast, I think, because that's exactly the best of both worlds. We both want what? Like the voter base on board and Chuck Schumer doing a good job, okay?
You're going to have to recruit someone else, Pisco, to back you up soon,
I think that we're in a hole. I think that we need to change things up, man. We just need to change it up. And it's not for the sake of it. It's because of, I think, demonstrable failures. And since we're talking about the Ezra Klein article, he points them out. He himself, right? Ezra Klein, we're talking about his article. He says he doesn't believe the Democrats have a coherent set of, and he would be in the know, right? Because he's talking to all these fucking people behind the scenes. He says that they don't have a fucking idea about what they're going to be negotiating. If we are in the stage of evaluating leadership, how is it 7-8 months into the administration and we don't have a set of negotiating positions on the budget? How can that be the case? How can it be the case that we still have our fucking heads cut off and we're chickens with our heads cut off during the negotiation that was pre-staged in March? What's the plan? What's the strategy? If what we're talking about here is some kind of acumen behind the scenes, Ezra's not seeing it, and what's the evidence of it?
Well, I find that hard to believe that Chuck Schumer doesn't have an idea of what he wants to get in negotiations with Donald Trump right now. I haven't read the article. I understand that's what Ezra Klein is saying based on what you're saying now, but come on. I think that's ridiculous to say that the Democrats have no idea what they want to get from Donald Trump in exchange for 7 votes in the Senate.
We haven't seen it. Usually they're in advance, weeks in advance, talking about what it is they want.
Is it public facing though? I don't know. I haven't. I don't. Maybe I can't recall.
That's just another messaging failure, and they need to make that more explicit. So if there is some trust the plan clandestine thing that's going to happen with Chuck Schumer, we'll see. But I mean, I got to say, as a Democratic voter, I'm not optimistic. I want them to do well. I want things to happen, but I haven't seen it, and they haven't spoken as to what they're actually going to do. I agree that at the very least, it doesn't seem like there's a good plan.
Well, I think they're just hell bent on shutdown. That's what I think. So they're not really like putting demands out there because they're like, we're going to kill them on a shutdown. If people go 2 paychecks without getting paid, they're going to freak out on Donald Trump. That's what they saw happen last time in his first administration. So I think that's just kind of what they're counting on now. And then once he's desperate, because he doesn't seem very desperate right now, then they can press him hard and maybe they can get something big, like something for the DACA kids or something.
I also want to say, and obviously, I think public opinion polling matters. So the fact that the opinion of the party right now among the base is like really abysmal, the worst it's been maybe ever in like polling history, that matters. But we should also take into account other things as well. Like I feel like the overperformance during these special elections is like incredibly significant. we're seeing like double-digit average swings away from Trump towards Democrats. So for as low as the public opinion polls are right now, Democratic voters are definitely charged up in this moment. They're showing up and they're taking the special election seriously. I know they have a fundraising problem right now, and they have a branding issue. They have low public opinion polls. However, if we're just ignoring like what else is going on here with these massive overperformances, that portends well for the midterms. Along with the general,
it will be in spite of Schumer, not because of him, or
well, I just don't know how. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know when like the Senate Majority Leader was ever in charge of making sure the Democratic Party was popular. Like, this just wasn't really a thing.
Okay, so on funding, he's sucking. On funding, he sucks. On organizing and resistance and the continuing resolution, he sucks. On Riz, he sucks. What is he doing that's good?
Chuck Schumer slander, man. It is
beyond the pale. Speaking of changing up the old, we've been talking about this for a while, and there's a couple other things we wanted to get to. One of which is this Venezuelan boat that we exploded. Have you guys seen this? What are your thoughts on this? I want you guys to talk about it first, because I might have a slightly contrary opinion to it. I'm curious of what you guys think about it. Pisco,
it is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. I think that they're getting ready for some kind of military action on Venezuelan soil. It's something that I want to research more about. But obviously, I think that the notion that it should be acceptable for the president of the United States to engage without any transparency in lethal missions on, who the hell do we know who these people are in the middle of the ocean, and just take on their word that they're involved with cartels, I think is a little bit much. And also, the punishment for this is not death. The punishment for smuggling drugs, when was that death? And when did we decide as a country that this would be the correct punishment for that kind of action? So obviously I think I'm against it. And I think that it's a gross overstep, and it's the kind of reason why you should be even less trusting of the Trump versus United States decision, because we were all saying, right, like, this is the kind of rationale that could extend to these attacks on people abroad or even domestically, who knows? And when will there ever be even the potential for accountability if it turns out that he was wrong intentionally so about this strike, or that they're lying to us? I don't think that there's even many mechanisms left to channel like wrongdoing by the state when it comes to lethal attacks. So yeah, it's very problematic in the broader
the
wars.
Chelsea Manning WikiLeaks thing was like such a big deal when a helicopter just blew those people up indiscriminately in a different country. And now
was that Snowden? Was that Snowden or Chelsea Manning?
Chelsea Manning, I thought, leaked it to WikiLeaks. No.
I don't know. It was one of the two. You tell me if it was Chelsea Manning.
Was the one who leaked it for sure. That's why she was in prison. But like, yeah, they like the idea that this exact same thing was like, oh my God, like we revealed this, and now you're going to prison, and it's this whole oversight committee and all this crazy rhetoric, and now it's the White House publicly broadcasting it with glee, like, look at that, we blew them up, no due process.
It's remarkable, yeah. It's
everyone who said
a lot of people in probably all of our chats are, I would assume there's a lot of like young people, so maybe you guys didn't realize this, but there was this footage that came out where it showed us basically doing drone strikes, right? Like murdering people from the sky in the war on terror. And this was considered like very, very, this was a scandal. Like this drove a national discussion that lasted for like months and years. I mean, we're still having a conversation about like the ethics and morality of this kind of surveillance and warfare. And like, however you feel about the drone strikes in the war on terror, even if you're against them, that was way more justified than fucking like blowing up a boat that's in the middle of the ocean. Like, if you suspect that these guys are actually trafficking drugs, why the fuck would you not send like the Coast Guard or the Navy to intercept the boat and like arrest them? To your point, Pisco, when the fuck is the death penalty, like without any kind of trial or charges, been the norm for this kind of thing? It is insane that they did.
I think it's very telling in the chat. There are some of my typical reply guys and people like that were like, what are you, on the side of the drug cartels? It's the same shit. Like, what are you, on the side of the terrorists? The same rationale. You can reliably get all the Republicans to instantly cheer on the abuses of the executive branch by just putting some like something in their face, something like a terrorist face or a cartel face, or a criminal, and then all of a sudden they'll justify any kind of abuse. This week there was a horrible attack on this Ukrainian woman. I think you guys might have seen it on X going around, this article and stuff.
In Charlotte,
and it's absolutely disgraceful, absolutely disgusting, and people will use that as fuel to basically justify any kind of authoritarian intrusion in their lives or excesses from the state. These people are so simple-minded. These kinds of simple sheep, I consider them sheep, these kind of propaganda shills who will just basically eat up and trust the government on anything and will justify any kind of abuse, even like summary killings of people where there's no evidence of anything.
Well, I got to give my contrary opinion real quick.
Well, let IRI give his one
go
first. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, that's how people get their news now, is from a video. You can give them all the stats in the world, how safe Charlotte, North Carolina is where that attack happened. Say crime's down 30%, and they'll see that video and say, it's out of control, we need the military. So we have to live in that environment, and we have to learn to adapt. It's frustrating, but what kills me is that this is the Trump administration strategy to combat fentanyl overdoses, whereas Biden had a real strategy that brought down the deaths by like 25%. That's been cut. And now this is the new strategy. We're going to blow up a boat here or there because we were in imminent danger because they were bringing drugs here.
Do you think
drugs come through ports of entry by and large, right? It's people doing like smuggling.
93%.
Oh yeah, like this is not like they're like catapulting drugs over the border with like this is just doesn't happen in large. So it's not like you said, all right, it's not going to be this massive combating that they're pretending it is.
When
it's
stuff
not going
like
to make a dent at all. Yeah.
When stuff like this stabbing goes viral, I feel like they're baiting people to respond with, even if it's the correct answer. Like IRI, you're mentioning crime trends. Like I think we're at 30-year low for violent crime. It spiked to, I think, like twice the levels it is now during the 90s. And but if you respond to that kind of video of that poor woman being stabbed to death, like that was horrific. If you respond to that by doing the whole like talking about crime trends, I think just optically it's a huge L. So I feel like the best way to respond is to be like, yeah, fuck this guy, throw away the key. You know what I mean?
Well, that's my kind of contrary opinion on that, and also the boat thing is like the way that Dems respond to this dangerously treads into the like, well, like I'm almost lionizing this person as a figure. And I saw that with the Abrego Garcia thing where it's like, there's a very good chance this guy was doing a bunch of fucked up stuff with trafficking or drugs or whatever. Now, let's just say he was, like, just for the sake of argument, there's a way to say, hey, due process still matters. Like we shouldn't just execute people, but also not hold this up. Like I've seen people say like, oh, like this was just a fishing boat, or hey, maybe they were like not doing that. It's like, look, let's like assume the worst, don't defend the crime itself, because once you do that, now every single right winger jumps on that and is like, oh, so you think we should just let criminals do whatever they want? Oh, so you're pro drugs? Oh, you're pro fentanyl deaths? Like, as much as I don't want to be like, yeah, fuck yeah, America, blow them up, because that is stupid. People get baited into this way too easily, and it's really upsetting to watch it happen in real time.
I feel like the boat thing was way more extreme than like the stabbing thing. Like the boat thing was just fucking crazy to me to see that. But I don't know. Optically, is it bad to say like we shouldn't be blowing up boats in the ocean? I don't know. I have no idea.
I guess you have to have the alternative, right? It's like you can't just say, oh, that's bad. Oh, how horrible. You have to also be like, hey, like you said, go send the Coast Guard out and arrest these people if you think they're committing drug smuggling. Don't blow them up without any sort of like, due process. It's just, all right, like we think you're doing a crime, you're dead now. Like that is insane, but you need to show them that like it's not this dichotomy between let drugs into our country and let people do fentanyl and kill every single drug criminal, which is
we need Democrats with balls to go and make that distinction. So I feel and go on TV and be like, the administration is just expecting us to take on face value at these attacks. Listen, we don't support drug cartels, obviously, but we want to see evidence of this shit. We don't agree with the president acting like a king and just killing people at his whim without any evidence. This guy's a known liar, and we know that they're, hiding the Epstein file. You can even tie it into that, but we need some powerful rhetoricians to make the kind of distinction that you're talking about. But it seems like it mum's the word.
Send the Greta Thunberg flotilla to intercept the drug cartels.
Yeah.
I want to talk them down.
How dare you attack these drug dealers?
Just to build on what you guys are saying, I think you're really hitting on something that we have to be careful how we talk about this. So like when it comes to crime, that people will soy out about, oh my God, he's sending in the National Guard and crime is down to a 30-year low in DC. And what are we doing? I think it's important to say, look, I can appreciate the spirit of what he's doing. We can always bring the crime down further. but there's better ways to go about this. And we got to be prepared with those strategies, like investing in after school programs or job placement programs. We got to have an answer. We can't just soy out about the National Guard being deployed and stuff like that. Same thing with the boat. We can't just soy out about the boat being blown up. My question is, and I'm curious what you guys think, where is this going? It sounds like the saber rattling with war with Venezuela. I mean, is this really where we're headed? Like, what do you guys think he's trying to do here?
I think it's quite possible. I mean, they're naming their department the Department of War. They've put out a bounty of like $50 million on his head. They've said that Venezuela is invading the United States for purposes of doing their Alien Enemies Act deportations. They've moved a bunch of assets, including naval and air assets, heavy assets, to Puerto Rico, and there was a visit from Hexit there just days ago. And if they do engage in war against the country of Venezuela, all these mindless government trusters are going to clap along. And so I don't know why not. He's facing some domestic pushback at home and failing approval ratings, and Trump already not in the the best mindset, I think. I don't think that there's anything that would put him past like starting a war with Venezuela. Do any of us think that?
I just think that would be catastrophic for his administration. Like, I think that would be wildly unpopular. Like, there's no way he would even get to even like 40% of people approving a war with Venezuela. I do
His
think
base
he
would support a 90.
Again, all you have to do is say, when we do this, the fentanyl deaths will go down. We'll stop the illegal immigration. You got to frame it like that. It's brain dead, but I think that'll work.
No, but you can't just it's not about just your base. Like, you need some support. You need like a decent amount of support from independents. I mean, the partisans on both sides, they're going to have their positions and they're not going to bend. But the 30 to 40% of people that are politically unaffiliated or registered independents or swing voters or whatever, like they really matter. Like, they really determine the success or failure of an administration. And if he were to go to war with Venezuela, I mean, he would have to have a really solid pretense. If there was a viral story, that Venezuelan cartel members, infiltrated Florida and kidnapped a young white girl and tortured her on camera, then maybe you could drum up support. But it would take literally something like that.
Didn't they literally do that, Hutch, with the apartment takeover, the Trendera Aragua? Like, they're already trying to do that.
They're trying, man.
I mean, he doesn't even have majority support for for example, like sending in the military to DC and Los Angeles. That's really unpopular in this country. Like, it's like 65% of people disapprove of him doing that. What are the odds that they're going to approve of him taking us to war with Venezuela? I just really doubt it.
Well,
I hope so, bro.
This is what Russia does. They have like false flags. So maybe he's working on, they're going to get back at us with a terrorist attack here in America. And it gives us the motivation to go to war with them as a big distraction. I have no idea, but the saber rattling is out of control right now.
It feels like they're literally trying to emulate the Sicario movies in terms of like how they execute like military strikes.
Here's a question for you, Hutch. If they were planning on war, wouldn't they act exactly like they're acting right now?
I would expect it to be a little bit more intense. I mean, do you remember the lead up to the Iraq War, for example? I mean, that was like a really significant level of escalation with the rhetoric. They were sending in Colin Powell to testify at the UN. They were sending in administration members to go testify to Congress. I mean, like, that was a really strong effort.
I mean, I'm seeing the rhetoric. Now, do I know for a certainty that it's going to happen? No, but I'm seeing the rhetoric. I'm seeing the escalation. And I mean, why are they moving all that military hardware there? Maybe it'll be a, quote, limited strike. But let's not forget, we attacked Iran. We had a bombing strike, historic bombing strike against a sovereign country of Iran. So he's already started. It was a short war, 12-day war. He started a war.
To be clear, I'm not saying that he's 100%. I'm 100% certain he's not going to do that. I'm just simply conveying that I think if he did do it, it would be catastrophic for. Like, I think he would be. I think he's massively overplaying his hand doing something like that.
Well,
I think
you mentioned the Colin Powell thing, and I think that is actually like more the turning point rather than the precedent, where back then, even after 9/11, we had to have this whole thing to like justify, and they said, hey, drum up this WMD stuff with our intelligence agencies, and we had to go to Congress and we had to testify, and we talked about al-Zarqawi and all this stuff just to justify going there. And Pisco brings up Iran. It's like, yeah, we didn't do any of that.
He just fucking did it. Yeah,
he just did it. And like that,
and that was a war. They called it a war.
It's just like he's kind of knows he doesn't have to do that stuff anymore. So I don't know if it would look any different. If anything, it's interesting that we have even a little foresight of like, oh, maybe he's going to do this. I expect to just wake up one day and it's like, oh, we invaded Venezuela like last night or something.
You would
some
see
operation.
You would see the largest anti-war protest movement ever if something like that popped up. Like you would see way more people in the streets protesting and like being anti-war than for the second Iraq war in 2003. I mean, it would be millions of people demonstrating. So
I'm not so sure, man. Social media is very powerful. And I tell you, as somebody who wades in the MAGA filth every day with these TikTok debates, I can't tell you how many people have told me they support regime change in Venezuela and they don't even know who's in charge or who would replace them. But it's starting to be like, it's being distributed as a talking point on the right. And I think some of them could easily be convinced to support it.
But we like with the No Kings protest, that was the largest single day of protests in American history. And that was because he sent the military into like Los Angeles. What do you think would happen if he went to war with Venezuela? I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I do have enough faith in the American people right now. I do think that as doomer as people feel right now, because, you know, this really fucking sucks that we're in a second Trump term. I feel those feelings too. I'm still encouraged by the level of like energy that I'm seeing out there. It's just not reflected in the rhetoric on social media, the way that everything's being discussed. But there's a huge number of Americans right now that are really energized and fired up. So if he were to do something like that, I mean, I know me and IRI, we'd be fucking marching in the streets for sure.
Sure.
But, yeah.
I'll say this, as a Venezuelan myself, I will accept being drafted and sent there for free, because I have yet to visit because of all the turmoil. I do want to connect with my heritage a little bit. I'll brush up on my Spanish.
Wait, what percentage Venezuelan are you? What are you doing?
I'm an 8th Venezuelan and an 8th Cuban, so a quarter Latino total.
God damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
God damn.
Well, we should. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say we should talk about the fucking crazy Epstein birthday note.
Oh
right?
yes.
yes. I'll
gift
bring
that keeps
one
on
up after
giving.
that stream. That's such a.
Can you show it? You can show it, right? Does it?
I think so. It's
does
not
it violate
nudity,
the OS?
right?
I don't know. Like, is it
course.
technically
Maybe
like
show
animated nudity?
So
It's not even nudity.
Let's see this one. Right
It looks
here.
like an anatomy drawing.
Yeah, it's just I mean, look. I mean, the way he's drawn the breasts here, it could be a guy, you know, and maybe these aren't even breasts. He's a very poor artist, but I think
It's a very voluptuous amputee, is what I think I'm looking at here.
This is one of the most creepy letters. I mean, like, have you ever heard of anything like this? This is so weird.
Yeah, this first of all,
And they were trying to be like, it's not real. Yeah.
Rokana did use the wrong "your" here, so I retract my endorsement if I had given one out before.
Oh,
So,
no, you can't be doing that.
It's Jover.
Oh,
But yeah, so should we read this for our audience? Do you guys?
You
Yeah,
read
why
it
don't you
before,
read
but
it?
read it again. Yeah, definitely.
read it again.
Who wants to be Jeffrey? I can be Donald if you guys are cool with that.
I
So
can't.
you-
I can't actually read. You want me to be Epstein?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should
can you be Epstein,
All
Pisco?
right. Well, can you just chill real quick? Let me just see. Enigmas never die. I just had to find it because I can't actually read it from there. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, are you the voiceover and Jeffrey? I believe so. You have to start.
Okay. There must be more to life than having everything.
Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is.
Nor will I, since I also know what it is.
We have certain things in common, Jeffrey.
Yes, we do, come to think of it.
Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that?
As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you.
A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And but now I can't read it. May every day be another wonderful secret. Signed, Donald J. Trump.
I
And,
mean, we already went over this note when it first dropped, but hearing Jeffrey Epstein say enigmas never age is just one of the
Well,
fucking
hang on.
creepiest things.
Well, hey, wait, hold on. Donald
Trump
said
is saying enigmas never age.
Oh Jesus! One of the most notorious pedophiles, literally in history at this point. Maybe the most famous besides Stalin. I don't know.
Did Stalin, was he known to
He
have sex with-
impregnated a 13-year-old.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Is that pedophilia? I don't know.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
all right, let's get back to the pedophile at hand, everybody. Okay.
So
Pedophilia? I don't know.
the first defense is the deputy chief of staff for the White House has claimed that's not his signature, and I put a link to his
wait,
tweet.
do I have this one here?
The initial
just put it in
denial. And we need to do
Yeah,
JD
this is-
Vance tweet too.
First argument is it's not his signature, though. Keep in mind it's from 2003, right? And so they claim,
Right.
It's not how he signs.
I love this argument,
Oh my
IRI, because it's
God.
like, one, it is absolutely similar to other signatures he's done. But two, if you
Right.
think this is fake, like what did you think the deep state or whoever's faking this was doing? They're like, all right, make it say, all this stuff, all this crazy stuff about him being friends, and make it like kind of allude to the fact that he's, doing stuff with kids. But you know what? Don't make the signature match. That's too obvious. Don't
Wait,
do
hold
that.
on. What am I looking at here?
So this is the claim from Carolyn Levitt is that the signature just doesn't match his signature. I mean, I don't know if we can click
it's
on this
the
here.
same signature.
Well,
I put a link.
She didn't share that one. She shared well, I guess she didn't even share a picture because she doesn't.
I
have
put a
good
link
defense.
in the group chat if you want to
Oh, yeah?
use that. It's the deputy chief of staff. He put a signature from last year of Trump's, and he said,
Right.
"Look, it doesn't match," and it's from last year.
Let's look at that.
I'm looking at the same signature right here. What the
Okay,
fuck are we
so
doing?
this is the one that they're trying to defend with. They're like, look, it doesn't match the signature from last year. Here's the one in the letter, and here's how he signs now, which it's completely different. Ignoring the fact that obviously people can have like signatures that slightly change, especially
Variations,
over, like 20,
yes.
30 years. But like, yeah, like even
Especially if
here,
you
like
become
Henry
president,
Sisson.
especially
like-
if you become president, you're signing fucking hundreds of things every day. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, but also this matches up completely. But again, just the absurdity of like, why would they fake it wrong? If
Did
it
you see
was fake?
Conway? Did you, fuck, what's his first name? Conway?
George?
Is it George Conway? George Conway. Hang on, I'm sending it to you right now. He literally has. All right, it's in our Discord chat, real quick. He literally has a letter that he had in his own files from 2006. Can you show that, please? Yep. And then I want to do the JD Vance one. So this is George Conway.
It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. It's from his own files.
And I just got a $20 super chat. I just want to read this. I don't know if it's a troll. It feels like a troll. You guys are coping. No one cares about this letter. Only terminally online libs. If you look at the polls, Republicans don't even care about this anymore. Normies barely care. Massive
Minus
Republican
20.
voter registration advantage. I would argue that the Epstein scandal is like one of the most. I like how many political scandals like this have broken into the mainstream in this kind of way, where you have like South Park ripping on it and Shane Gillis doing a funny bit at the ESPY Awards, and just like very rarely do you have something like this that people care about this much. So I think you're coping, my friend.
Famous like pervasive memes of even like the non-online people is the Epstein didn't kill himself, right? So like this Epstein rhetoric has been around for the past 6 years, and now it's like, oh, now we can attach it to the president. I think this is like one of the few things you could even get MAGA to split on if you had like dead to rights proof. I mean, I said this on Twitter this morning.
Copium.
If Donald Trump is innocent, this is the funniest thing ever. I'm just like, how do you keep like, like accidentally like doing all this stuff with Jeffrey Epstein and like being like, oh, I didn't. Oops, I didn't. I was just writing him a letter. Like that would be hilarious if it turns out that he's completely exonerated.
He's like Mr. Magooing himself into making the story so much worse every time he fucking speaks.
Like total
it's all a hoax.
Of like
I never
Melania
knew him.
opens the door and like he somehow tripped and his clothes fell off, and there was a child who was changing out of her bathing suit, and he's like, it's not what it looks like. Oh my god, and what's going on? Like how absurd, how deranged.
Can you imagine if this were Bill Clinton's signature and he sent that creepy fucking letter? Like there is just no shot in hell that people would ever let this go. The amount of cope I'm seeing about this letter, it's actually giving me a contact high. I honestly can't tell if we're living in the same reality.
Somebody now, I don't know if this is too conspiracy brained. I'm saying this in the context of fucking Jeffrey Epstein, but like I saw that the word enigma, have you guys seen this, is an anagram for a French word meant to describe like young women. Have you heard this?
This is QAnon.
I don't know that.
No, but here, listen, hear me out, okay?
Does Trump speak French?
This is the least Hutch thing I've ever heard.
No, hang on. But Trump was really plugged into like the French fashion world at the time that he was friends with Epstein, and they used the word a lot. So
you got to get out the Glenn Beck conspiracy board for this one. This is like as much as I believe this is true, that would be wild. But I on the enigma, I do think it's funny that what's his name, when Larry Elder was like, we had AI look through all of Trump's like speeches, and he doesn't even know what the word enigma is.
Larry Elder said that.
Immediately proven untrue because he said it in like a speech publicly. But two, the defense of like, you think Donald Trump is smart enough to know words?
Means.
Absolutely not. Donald Trump is not smart enough.
I don't think like what's funny is it seems like they really thought they were being subtle, but it's almost like this is something out of a satire, you know, like they were trying to find a way to basically like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, hey, we fuck kids. And it's so obvious that is like,
what else would it be? I mean, like, what is this letter?
Why are you bringing up age in this way? Like, you're just calling just way more attention to yourself here.
Never age.
Well, to that super chatter, Hutch, I would say we don't kid ourselves that this is going to make people vote for Democrats in the future, but it is going to depress a certain part of the Trump base if he doesn't give them the answers they want. And I tell you, you can go to any MAGA you guys know and say, do you agree with Trump on blocking the Epstein files? And they'll tell you, you know what, I disagree. Most of them will tell you, I disagree. So this is hurting him. And look, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ro Khanna embracing in front of the nation. What other issue is bringing together Democrats and Republicans?
It's true.
Let alone the MTG. Like, how could you possibly get her on board with that? Like,
and Ro Khanna's like saying, you've been so brave on this issue, Miss Green. Like, Representative Green has been a real leader on this issue. Like, he gives a fuck. And you know what? I think that it's good for the Democrats. And I just sent you this as well, Soy Pill, the Democrats' response to this. Because J.D. Vance, if you can show, initially said, quote, forgive my language, but this story is complete and utter bullshit. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Where is this letter? Would you be shocked to learn they never showed it to us before publishing it? Does anyone honestly believe this sounds like Trump? And like, what's the response now, JD?
Yeah,
this guy's such a dipshit. I can't believe that he's one like sick 79-year-old's heartbeat away from being the president of the United States.
How is this guy supposed? I mean, he's supposed to be like pretty smart, like plugged into, you know, like really smart tech people and all that. Whatever. Went to what did he go? Yale or Harvard or something? How did he not anticipate that obviously the letter was going to get out at some point? Like, how do you not put that together in your mind? It's crazy.
That's the problem is they don't have a cohesive like defense of this. Like, you have JD and Trump saying this is fake. The Epstein files are a hoax. Mike Johnson is now saying, oh, Trump was an undercover FBI agent, like it was actually like on purpose, like he was having sex with children as part of his cover, like he couldn't break cover. Like they don't have a cohesive narrative on this. I don't know, like there is obviously this top down monster of like Trump to like the Charlie Kirk and Trump to the Daily Wire of like, how do we defend this? And you like, they literally have a one-to-one connection with this, but for some reason on the Epstein stuff, I probably because it's true, they don't have that cohesive defense of it.
Well, I think like at the height of irony, one of Donald Trump's appeals when he was running in 2016 and something that he's tried to like bake into his brand is that he's this outsider that's going to come into DC and clean up the cesspool and, you know, get rid of all the corruption. That's like, you know, we obviously find that comical, but certainly among his base, that's certainly one of the selling points, you know, getting rid of the deep state and, you know, getting rid of the big money influences and blah, blah, blah. As he's making, you know, billions of dollars in crypto while he's president, whatever. But this kind of thing like really hurts that brand. Like, obviously, like I think that's one of the reasons why the Epstein story is so salient is because we live in a time where anti-establishmentism is so prevalent across the political spectrum. There's definitely a perception that government is not, you know, working for the people and that it has been corrupted by, you know, either AIPAC or other like, you know, like lobby groups and corporations and billionaires and the deep state and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, like, how do you square this story with that part of your brand? It's, I mean, it's like a massive contradiction, obviously.
It's also like, like half of what he ran on, like not just the cleaning up the deep state, but literally like the QAnon, like he's going to expose all the government pedophiles. Like this would be like if Joe Biden, like it came out that he just owned slaves. Like he just like you know, like he just had like a bunch of black slaves like on his plantation somewhere, and it's like completely antithetical to.
He was friends with Strom Thurmond.
I knew you were gonna say that. Somebody
you knew it was. I'm preempting chat because they're gonna say it too. So when you
it was a different
open
time.
yourself up like that,
it was more bipartisan back then. Okay,
sure, yeah.
The undercover agent FBI informant Trump story is hilarious. Mike Johnson had to walk that back a day later, saying, "Well, I didn't have any evidence of that," but boy, you can see the defense coming out already for when the files do come out, because they will come out eventually. They already are crafting a story like, yeah, it looks real bad what Trump did. He got a tug job from some kids or something, but he did it because
he had to do that because he was undercover.
Right. He was undercover like Pookie in New Jack City, man.
Literally, he's gonna do the Bill Clinton, like, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't inhale on the joint." He's like, I wasn't into it. I didn't enjoy a single moment. It wasn't that good."
Without a doubt, like the funniest part of this story is the fact, and we talked about this before, but like this is entirely this is an entirely a problem of their own making. Like there's a complete cell phone. Like Pam Bondi is literally the reason why all this is happening. She didn't have to go in there and make a big thing about the Epstein files. She could have just ignored it, and it would have just kind of just been simmering in the background, and that probably would have even benefited them with QAnon people, because you keep the possibility alive. Like there's all this speculation. They're not doing anything public, but if you look at this tweet and the number of like letters here, obviously they're getting ready for a big crackdown. She goes in there and within the first month is like, full transparency. We're going to invite like fucking DC Drano and libs of TikTok and 20 other fucking right-wing influencers. We're going to give them a fake binder full of information we already released. She's literally the reason why like this whole thing started. And then Donald Trump at every step of the way just made it fucking worse.
But she'll face no penalty for it, just like the rest of the administration, as long as they give their like North Korea style addresses to Trump every time they're on the news or whenever they're like in a meeting and they're just like, "Well, yes, sir, you have a mighty fine cock, and oh my God, you have the fucking greatest person that's ever existed. You're on par with Jesus, if not better." Then their jobs aren't in danger. They realize it's such an easy way to play him and to keep your job is to just be servile to Trump the whole time. And really, Bondi's problem isn't really like her own problem. The problem is Trump is conflicted. The problem is Trump is uncomfortable because Trump is in the files. To what extent, we don't know. But like the reason that she can't be ultra transparent is because of Trump. And so as long as she plays the line, she's not going to face any internal penalty for it. And Trump doesn't mind her being the scapegoat because he's not really beholden to his base, who are all members of a cult.
I think she's in a tough spot right now because, not only because of the Epstein stuff, but fucking Tulsi did a Game of Thrones level of like stabbing her in the back by passing the buck about, prosecuting Barack Obama. And so, Tulsi comes out with this like recommendation that the DOJ literally charges Barack Obama with trying to, I don't know what was she wanted to charge him with?
She's like a treasonous conspiracy or something.
And so now like she's like, I'm sure she saw that and was like, what the fuck? And like Tulsi herself had been experiencing so much heat, like reportedly Trump was not happy with her. And so what does she do? She comes out with this thing. And now Pam Bondi is like, do I need to prosecute Barack Obama in order to keep my job? So yeah, she's in a tough spot, I think.
Well, all the pressure's on her. That's the mortgage fraud cases are headed her way too. And they're not even going to get an indictment on these. Letitia James, Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook. None of this stuff's going to pan out.
Oh, huge self-report by one of these Trump reply people. They're like the cope of the face no penalty cope and the homosexual reference cope. I was taking on the role of Pam Bondi, and so maybe the homosexual reference is like your own subconscious thoughts, like reading into that. But I was taking on the role of Pam Bondi when I was making the comment about Donald Trump's penis. So
I got another nice cock is first of all an asexual. Anyone can.
Yeah, it's not a homosexual reference.
So
that's your own thing, J Mac. That's your own thing.
It's looking good, then you just don't have good friends.
A lot of people say that cocks look weird, but I feel like cocks can be quite beautiful.
Oh, are we doing this again? You made your joke about your penis. You had a whole arc up.
What's the joke? No, I got a super chat here. The last poll around Trump's handling of the Epstein list had voters disapproving of the handling. Emerson had 51% disapproval. Quinnipiac had 63% disapproval. I've seen more polls that are closer to like 55, 60, but yeah, it's not a popular issue for him. How many voters is it going to motivate in the midterms? I'm not really sure, but like we live in an era where we have just really close elections all the time now. And so the margins really do matter. And something like this can depress the vote enough to make a difference. Whether that happens, who knows, but it's possible.
Well, you got to give the Democrats credit for their messaging. We slam the Democrats all the time on shitty messaging, and poor Chucky Charles Schumer took a load of it on this podcast. But God damn it, the Democrats have done a brilliant job with their messaging on the Epstein files. And so I think we got to applaud
has done
them
a great job. Yeah, I applaud Ro Khanna. I applaud the Democrat Twitter account. I applaud AOC. I applaud all these people who are doing the messaging, and I agree. The Democrats are doing a decent job on the Epstein stuff. I just wish they did a better job on everything else.
Well, I do have to say,
Fair
just to add to this, when I was like at these Ro Khanna like campaign events in like South Carolina, like he's out there, he's for hours talking about economy, like how do we get jobs back, how do we build up the black community, how do we like make sure the religious leaders are connecting, and the most applause was when he mentioned the Epstein stuff every single time at every single event. Like this is just the through line of it. People hate injustice, and if you're hiding the fact that you're diddling kids, like they're gonna be the most turned out for that apparently. So this, I think that like that chatter is just totally wrong. I think this is like the winning issue, unfortunately. Like as much as like things that affect more people should be more important, like this is the smoking gun if we really nail them down on it.
Can we close out? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've kind of a hard out for 5:30. But
Sure.
Can we close by? Can we just say, like, I'm telling you guys, I think Mamdani is impressive, man. I really do. I linked it. There's a clip of him in the private chat there. Soy Pill.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys want to show it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you endorse? Yes or no?
Yeah,
I gotta pull the Pisco on you.
No, I'm saying like this guy.
He endorsed.
I think,
Hutch endorsed.
Yes or no, Hutch? Yeah.
I think
There are
Here, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
people for whom their number one issue is groceries, the cost of groceries, and they vote alongside that. And they kept hearing about it from Trump, and they heard about it from us. And I think part of our posture has been, we welcome anyone to join this movement. We don't ask them where they've been or why they haven't joined yet. We welcome them because I think too often we've practiced a politics of purity where we ask you, you know, we badger you, we lecture you, we heckle you. There's the level of condescension about those who don't already agree with us. That is not how you welcome people in.
Yeah.
There are people for whom
That's
Damn.
That's Barack Obama rhetoric, by the way. I mean, he did reportedly call Mamdani, so maybe he gave him some pointers there. But I don't know. That I love hearing that rhetoric personally. I think that that's like really an important thing right now. And so I don't know. I saw that, and I just feel like he also had something really diplomatic things to say about, you know, people in the Congress that have not endorsed him yet. And so, you know, I just think he's taking the right posture.
Get off of his back. Hutch is giving him his flowers, and so I need all the
No,
black
they're getting on his back.
Chat.
They're getting on Mamdani's back right now.
Oh, what are they saying?
They're turning on him. Watch. You just watch.
They're going to cancel him once he gets in office because he's carrying water for the Democratic Party and he's going to become a shit lib in their eyes. So they shouldn't get too excited. But
they did it with AOC and Bernie.
Yes,
they're pissed that the Democrats haven't consolidated against him, but they think that he's too aligned with the Democrats. Make that make sense.
They will watch. They will. But what I really like about him is he has capped his fundraising and told people, don't send me money. I've never seen that before. I've never seen it. That you cannot donate to him right now. And all you can do is like volunteer. And I think that's a brilliant strategy. So I really give him credit for just finding every way possible to run a brilliant campaign.
If Trump is successful, if he actually didn't Adams come out and say he's not going to do it, but like there was some reporting that Trump was going to offer Adams and Sliwa, the Republican, they were going to offer them positions in the administration to drop out of the race and then make it easier for Cuomo.
Mayor Adams is hilarious. He comes on stage. I mean, he's so corrupt, but he comes on and he's like, oh, what does he say? He goes, Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar, and it just goes after fucking Cuomo. These people are clowns. Holy shit. And they're not going to drop out. They have too much ego. Maybe Adams will because he's corrupt as fuck, but I don't think that they will. I think that he's going to. He's in it to win it, yeah.
Saudi Arabia? That is a cushy job, man.
You think that he's going to take that? I mean, that would just be the most corrupt fucking move of all time.
Not that Eric
what
Adams
does he care at this point? He's going to lose. He knows he can't win.
So here's what I'll say: if they do actually, if the Trump administration successfully poaches those two away, and it's down to Cuomo and Mamdani, I will join you guys in condemning fucking Chuck Schumer and Jeffries and whoever else.
All right, you got the heart out, Hutch. Do you have
Josiah has a chat? Wait, Josiah has a chat
I
first.
see that as well. We'll do that. But Hutch, do you have a plug? Any plugs from you guys before we show this Josiah stuff?
No, just Sunday through Friday. We start the streams at 8:30 a.m. and we go until around like 1:32 usually. Just had a collaboration with fucking Ethan Klein last week. That was kind of interesting.
Very cool.
And so yeah, that was cool.
Did you just like shit on Hassan a little bit?
A little.
Yes,
a little,
All right, good
I didn't want to bring in the drama slop on this episode, but yeah, we've been cool stuff going on over there. But yeah, youtube.com/Hutch, twitch.tv/Hutch.
Pisco, plugs?
Yeah, no, this week I have some things to announce, some collabs that we're doing, but otherwise, yeah, just stay tuned to the stream. And if you haven't already, had a debate with Tim Pool and other people on my channel. You can find it.
Watch it.
Yep, and then also a debate with Prime Kai, who didn't vote for Kamala. We had a 3-hour conversation about that. I think you'll find it enjoyable if you like that kind of like lefty liberal infighting thing.
Okay, all right.
Hell yeah. I don't have anything big this week, but I'm still debating MAGA every morning on TikTok. You guys can watch it live on my Twitch and my YouTube since I stream at the same time. I do have something huge coming up in 2 weeks. I can't say what it is, but it's going to be pretty good. So
I wonder if it's the
tell you more
thing that I
there.
might have coming up. It might be something similar there. I don't know. But on me, I have a debate in 45 minutes. I can't believe this is a topic. Is sexism good? With Talibots, I'm on her team because I'm defending women. All right. So that's how far out of the Overton window the subject is.
Nice.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Josiah wanted us to plug that thing.
Okay,
so if you want to put it up on the screen, there you go. Perfect.
Josiah's plug, guys. Josiah, by the way, is still on the show. Believe it or not, he just missed 2 in a row because he hates you. But he is doing a stream with Beasley, Adam Mockler, Brian Tyler Cohen to promote the Prop 50 redistricting Newsom thing. This is Wednesday, September 10th. That's in 2 days. At 4:30 Pacific time. I think they emailed me about this too. I might take part in this as well. So absolutely check that out, guys.
Good shit.
Just nice. Drum up some support for fighting back. But then the last thing we'll end on this is we were talking about this. It looks like Slotkin, the best Democrat, as we know, because 1630 pays us to say this. Slotkin has demands for the shutdown. So we'll watch this demand.
Yeah, let's watch it.
Okay, all right.
The way the price of healthcare affects what's going on here in Washington, and now that we're back this month, is we are facing the potential again of another government shutdown deadline on September 30th. The government runs out of money on September 30th. The president and the Republicans have not come to talk to the Democrats. We need a bipartisan way forward. If you want our votes, you got to come to us and have a negotiation, have a conversation. One of the things that the president can do in order to make this a real conversation is walk back some of those cuts to Americans' health care. Walk back some of the ways that Americans are going to feel those additional costs. He could walk back the Medicaid cuts. He could walk back the rise in price to everyone on Obamacare, and he could restore health research funding so that we can continue to invent the newest cures, the newest treatment. The way the price of health.
I think that's good. That's
really good.
I think. Go ahead.
Well, those are tough asks because the Medicaid cuts are the work requirements, reporting requirements. They're not going to walk that back. Maybe the funding, the $500 million funding for like mRNA research or something, but those are tough asks.
Yeah. No. So
they want a shutdown. They're not going to get like. I think that they're angling for a shutdown. I mean, those are non-starters for like the Freedom Caucus type people and a lot of these. But,
but politically, I mean, that's
politically, I'm fine with that.
That's pretty savvy, right? Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. I wonder if she got Schumer's blessing to do that, or if she just got out in front, because she faced a lot of heat about a month and a half ago because of that interview she had with Crystal Ball. So I wonder if this is her way of trying to repair her reputation or whatever.
The reason why I think it's smart, and I just want to say this, is the other asks, which are like be less authoritarian. Start listening to the courts some more, rehire those are just too ephemeral. They're too conceptual. Like, stop being like this. To me, at least, is tangible. There's a specific amount of funding. We want that funding, as opposed to like stop being authoritarian, rehire all the inspectors general. That to me is too much of an infringement on or stepping over what Trump would see as his like executive prerogatives, and it's too abstract in the sense of stop being authoritarian. So I do think it's smart to do something tangible that the American people can see and feel.
Josiah wants me to also mention that Pete Buttigieg, Maxwell Frost, and the cast of The West Wing will be there on Wednesday. So just as extra selling point.
The last gasp of the West Wing liberals.
Yeah.
Sounds like
the Andrew Sorkin Warriors. I'm not a fan of, but I think it'll still be fun. So
starting to
I'll
sound
say
like
this: if Alyssa Slotkin makes that happen, I think she'll begin to be one of my favorite Democrats. Sorry,
wow.
I tried to do a cast register thing. I don't know if it picked it up, but
she's pretty popular. I understand that interview was rough on her, but I don't think that was even noticed outside of certain parts of the internet. You think differently? I don't think anyone in the world cared about
sorry,
that.
I should have been more specific. I mean, she got a lot of, that there was a lot of online backlash, but I don't know if it affected her own constituents, but
No.
Hutch is in the eye of a hurricane. And listen, we love our boy Hutch. We'll always
He's in
support
that
our boy
world.
Hutch. He's in the world. He's in the fight right now. And
What's happening? Wait, why are you bringing me into the Slotkin conversation?
No, it's just like you're
No,
constantly
you're
boxing
seeing all-
against like all sides.
Yes.
You know, people are always coming at Hutch. That's all.
That's your
I'm
arena.
I'm very online. My screen time last week, boys, was 7.5 hours per day average. It was not great.
7.5.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
probably at
And-
like 16, buddy. You got to step those numbers up.
Yeah, you got to be like 20.
What are
It's
you
not
doing the
good.
rest of the day? Fucking staring
Yeah.
outside? What the hell?
I stream for like 5-6 hours. I play video games. I take walks and whatever. It's not great. I'm too online these days. But anyways, boys, good conversation. Enjoyed
Great
it.
combo.
And enjoy the rest of your
Josiah
week.
will be back because he actually does love you. I lied at the beginning.
Thank God.
Stay cool. Love you.